all right. Good evening and good night. Welcome to the It's Your Perspective Talk Show. It is Thursday, July 7th, 2016. My name is David, a.k.a. Kimber, a.k.a. Christian, alongside
Bingy Soup.
Yeah, Soup, we back.
Yes, I.
Once again, this is the It's Your Perspective Talk Show every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, weekly at 8 p.m. until. We do have a telephone number, 340-201-9005. You can also text us on a number as well. And most importantly, you have to go to our website, streaming live from the VI.com. Click on the tab that says Watch Us Live. We also have email as well, streaming live from the VI. Streaming live from the VI at yahoo.com. We're in a high-tech, low-tech studio, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. No radio or TV, internet only. Get your iOS, your Android, your iPad, your tablet, Mac, Windows, or Linux PC. Open up your browser, type in streaming live from the VI.com. Click on the tab. You'll be able to see the show tonight because we do have a returning guest in the studio. We have 2 Facebook pages. I want to give a quick shout out to CHS Class of 1982. You can catch all our past shows, well over 300 now, probably close to 330, on our YouTube channel. It's Your Perspective Talk Show. Check us out on Ustream.tv as well. Want to give a quick shout out to all our past guests. Thanks for being on our show. Tweet with us. Hit us up at VI Perspective. Tweet. Moving straight forward and up. The show's mission is just to inform, entertain, and empower everyone. Want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Maggie's Party Decor and Supersonic Computer Services. Check out our website for contact information. That's Maggie's Party Decor and Supersonic Computer Services. So, Soup, you ready?
Yes, I.
All right, let's get ready to hit that It's Your Perspective poem, right?
Yes, I.
All right, man.
Greetings to one and all in the name of His Divine Majesty, Kidamawi Mpedi Selassie the First, Rastafari. Hope everyone had a blessed day and even a greater night. The greatest secret in life is that reality is nothing more than illusion. The physical world does not exist outside of our own belief system and the filter of our own mind. We are, in fact, subparticles of the of the Most High experiencing creation itself. But as subparticles of the Most High, we have also swayed over this creation. Everything you have experienced in life, every event, occurrence, object, and person is nothing more than our figment of our own thoughts, beliefs, and words. The problem is, most of us are still asleep. The problem is, most of us are still asleep. When you understand this, your entire world shifts and you come to realize the true meaning of life is thus, like a lucid dream. We have total control.
Yes, sir, Soup. Thanks for that. Soup's been blessing us with the It's Your Perspective poem, man, since April of 2014. And he's back. That's all I can really say. He's back.
That's right.
Author Gary James. There he is, man. Wave to the crowd.
That's right. I am back. Conversations with Gary James is back indeed.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, you had to
Good.
break away there for a minute.
Yeah, well, it was a brief hiatus on essential business.
Okay.
But it's great to be home again.
That's right. Cool.
And to be welcomed by you innovative and cutting edge brothers.
All right.
So
pleasure to have a man of your stature amongst us.
You sure know what to say, man. Brother Soup sure knows what to say. So I want to note the news report that I heard today. More judicial executions in the mainland, on the mainland. And so my heart goes out to the family and friends of the 2 victims. And we just hope and pray that things will somehow be reconciled.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Amen. But obviously the political temperature and tactics are heating up in presidential election 2016 as the presumptive Democrat and Republican nominees are off and running in the mud. Of course, there are third-party candidates as well, and we won't characterize any of the campaigns as they speak volumes for themselves. But I would say, in terms of both Democrat and Republican campaigns, they have gone over the top, in my view. And the top is from the bottom side, you know, really low. So I suspect the electoral politics in the VI will officially get underway after the Labor Day holiday. But I would be surprised if there are not clandestine political maneuvers underway as we speak. And needless to say, the silence, the political silence, is deafening. So we'll keep our ears perked. Be that as it may, I want to begin tonight's conversation focusing on our youth here in the VI as they continue to dominate the news with gun violence, murder, and ultimately deaths. All hands are needed on deck in order that they stop knocking each other off. What can the future hold if that doesn't occur? This is a relevant and open question as we speak. With that question in mind, I'm pleased to acknowledge a Virgin Islander who I have not yet met, hadn't had the opportunity of meeting the person yet, and I'm looking forward to meeting him, however, in the near future. I acknowledge this person knowing that he is worthy of such acknowledgement because of his tireless and voluntary efforts on behalf of young adults. His Herculean efforts are timely in view of the VI's rate of murder per capita. Our murder rate for the past few years is statistically competitive with third world countries and failed states. Moreover, it seems to be getting worse. The trajectory of unsolved crimes and murders, particularly involving young adults, going forward is grim. Therefore, people like our awardee should be acknowledged and supported because their work is generally unheralded and offers little, if any, material rewards. And as a spokesperson for the Virgin Islands Council of Estates, the presenter of the award, we are honored and pleased to present our Community Commitment Award to the one and only Coach Foy. The award is to highlight current and decades-long work with and on behalf of youth and young adults. Coach's work in this regard is an inspiration to us, and I'm sure many others as well. But we also acknowledge Coach Foy on another front that is of great and critical importance to the VI going forward. There are many issues in the VI that seem to be intractable over the years, and these issues continue to have a negative impact on our senior citizens. As I mentioned, I have never met Coach Foy, but since I relocated to the Big Island several years ago, all during this time I've been witness to the voice of Coach Foy, speaking on behalf of senior citizens, their benefits being threatened, and the need for them to be more active on their own behalf. So Coach Foy has demonstrated his commitment to young people and senior citizens in a noble way that has nothing to do with personal and material gratification. God knows the noble work that you, Coach Foy, and others are doing on behalf of the least of these. It just so happens, however, that the target group of the VICOE initiative is also young adults and senior citizens. Therefore, we are in line with the efforts of the coach. So on behalf of the coach's double dip, as it were, we're honored to award the Community Commitment Award to Coach Foy. We won't reveal the specifics and details of our support for the work of Mr. Foy because we've not yet discussed the award with him. But should he agree to be a recipient of the award, we will discuss the issues and details with the coach, and he will, of course, determine the nature of public disclosure. I can say, however, that it will include, the award will include a 2 years duration with the objective of establishing a self-reliant and ongoing youth and senior citizens improvement initiative. So I'm looking forward to meeting Mr. Foy and discussing how we can be helpful and supportive of his noble work. And for more information about the Virgin Islands Council of Estates, I invite you to visit the website www.vicoe.net. Now, continuing our ongoing conversation, as I recall during our last conversation, we discussed two subjects during that conversation, the Laws of Nations, and the Knights of Malta. We came to these two areas because we were examining the hot issue of the status of Virgin Islands inhabitants and the territory, and the challenges associated with developing a VI constitution. We began the examination with the acknowledgement that the basis for this research and investigation is in the framework of the Danish West Indies dispensation. The fundamental question was what international law was in place during the time that the Danish West Indies was established. The other question is pertinent because of the fact that the Knights of Malta are among the 7 flags that ruled St. Croix up to the island becoming a part of the Danish West Indies. So the Knights of Malta controlled St. Croix prior to the French, and interesting intrigues occurred between the French and the Knights of Malta prior to the Danish dispensation. Therefore, the Knights of Malta and the Laws of Nations are relevant to our current question regarding the status of Virgin Islands and the territory. So perhaps the examination of these subject areas would shed some light on the objective facts on the ground associated with the VI status question. We offered a brief exposition of the Knights of Malta and the nature of their activities, operations, personalities, and origin. And we learned that the Laws of Nations, the international law of the period, was authored and engineered by the Vatican. We pointed out that the Laws of Nations can be examined further because they are enshrined in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. Hence, we can determine the status of Virgin Islands and the territory going forward based upon the original intent of the Laws of Nations. The Knights of Malta exposition provides a window into the environment and nature of the respective stakeholders and role players pertinent to St. Croix in particular, and the Danish West Indies in general. I'm not going to repeat the issues we raised regarding the Knights of Malta during our previous conversation this evening. However, I will give you a heads up that we will post the narrative regarding the Knights of Malta on the VotersAnonymous.com website over the weekend, perhaps tomorrow evening, but over the weekend for sure. So you'll get a chance to just review that.
Gary, that's the document of you will have it on the document from the Laws of Nations.
No, what you could look at, you could refer to the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, to get a vision of the
Of the laws of nature.
laws of nations.
Okay, cool. All right.
But perhaps before we close, I'll give a brief exposition of that.
Okay.
But we'll talk further on that as well, because that's a very interesting piece. When we examined the Knights of Malta during our previous conversation, we mentioned another organization because there is a nexus between the two essentially private organizations. The name of that organization we mentioned was the Bilderberg Group, which is the subject of our brief exposition on that this evening.
Yes.
The Bilderberg Group is often associated with two other organizations you may be familiar with: the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, and the Trilateral Commission, TC, and both work for the same cause of globalization. The Bilderberg Group, or BG, was initiated by Polish immigrant and political advisor Joseph Rettinger, who we mentioned last time, who also served as its first permanent secretary. And its alleged aim was to promote a greater understanding between Europe and the United States. The BG evidently got its name from the place of its first meeting, which occurred in May of 1954 at the Hotel de Bilderberg in Oosterbeek in the Netherlands. Today, the organization gathers at an annual conference lasting 4 days at a 5-star resort or hotel, usually in Europe, although several events have taken place in the United States and Canada. Although BG is not considered a club of any sort, many guests are regular attendees, and each year about 100 people are invited by a steering committee to attend the annual conference. While these meetings aren't publicized, their times and locations, along with lists of attendees, are available for public knowledge. What's discussed within the conference, however, is not made known to the public. All attendees swear they'll never divulge what transpired during these sessions. The reason is ostensibly because it ensures that no one will be misquoted. And even though some members of the media attend the event, they are also required to keep mum about what takes during the conferences. Regular attendees include central bankers, defense experts, prime ministers, royalty, mass media barons, government ministers, international financiers, and political leaders from Europe and America. Prominent guests have included Presidents Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, also David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and other members of CFR and TC. Its objectives that its objectives, it's obvious, that essentially the same people share the globalization perspective of a one world government. They also appear to groom new and talented members who also manage to climb the ladder into high positions in government, commerce, and industry. The main thrust of the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderbergers seem to be consistent with objectives of one world government. By way of full disclosure, I believe that most members of these organizations are good people without any wicked intent. But naturally, there are others among the spectrum, and still others who really pull the strings, probably have altruistic motives that perhaps tend to expand any power or wealth that they may have, etc. But more specifically, the organizations and institutions are and have been responsible for establishing and maintaining the structures and systems of modern civilization. Based on my roots as a Virgin Islander, I've been animated by the question of my status and that of the status of the territory going forward. There are many long-standing stakeholders and role players that don't necessarily meet the eye, but they are consequential in terms of having a practical impact on relative to the facts on the ground in the VI. We're going to have conversations about the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, and the Trilateral Commission, which was referenced during our conversations about, or that included the Knights of Malta, the Bilderberg Group. So CFR and TC will receive equal time. These various independent private organizations ultimately share a philosophical framework that operates in the secular world of international law and the central banking system. These contemporary international organizations that define the modern world were based on international law in the framework of the League of Nations and the current United Nations. On the other hand, the international law that preceded these secular formations was the Law of Nations, which was authored, engineered, and enforced by the Vatican. However, the United States Constitution, the quintessential founding document that embodies Western civilization, adheres to the Law of Nations as per Article 1, as we mentioned, Sue. Therefore, the status of Virgin Islanders and the territory can be determined based on international law pertinent to the period of the Danish West Indies in the framework of the Law of Nations, as we said, is accessible in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. In addition to being able to explore the prospect of status by way of examination of the U.S. Constitution. The relevant documentation concerning the right of self-determination of indigenous inhabitants, VI residents, is the United Nations Resolution 1514. This resolution sheds light on the question of status going forward. Without equivocation, the status of descendants of former enslaved Africans in the Virgin Islands are currently considered statutory citizens of the United States. Statutory citizenship is something like naturalized citizenship, but it's different. It's different because statutory citizenship is limited citizenship and has a temporary state of being. And the will of the United States Congress determines the extent to which it is continued. When blacks were living under the Danish West Indies, descendants of former enslaved Africans were subjects of the Danish crown. They were not citizens, they were subjects of the Danish crown. The Virgin Islands of the United States is in a unique position as an unincorporated territory because there are two fundamental options under consideration, for indigenous inhabitants of the VI in terms of the territory's future trajectory. The Virgin Islands can remain connected and associated under the umbrella of the United States of America in various formulations. On the other hand, the Virgin Islands has the option of self-determination and independence going forward as per UN Resolution 1514. And I recently learned that there were already 5 constitutional conventions that were commissioned for the purpose of developing a constitution for the VI, with, of course, dubious results. Interestingly enough, the question of whether to stay in or leave has resonance in the Virgin Islands, as it has shown to have resonance in Europe, in the UK in particular. On both scores, we find the subject relevant, particularly as it relates to the unfolding dynamic in the world today. Therefore, we are inspired and inclined to continue this conversation. During the next conversation, we'll explore the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. These various organizations enjoy a philosophical affinity, and they generally share geopolitical and strategic interests. On the other hand, there is an interesting similitude between the Catholic and Protestant dynamic that manages to be reconciled in the United States Constitution by way of the legacy of Christian monarchs. And that talks about the substance of the laws of nations. And so we'll get into that briefly next time, because it's all relevant to the current question of status for individuals and the territory. And it's timely because of what's going on in Europe and the world with respect to interesting and dynamic transitions.
And that was too, because too right now Europe, I mean England voted to come out of the EC.
Right.
I mean the EU.
EU.
EU, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, cool.
And the EU has another dynamic because it's been for the past 500 years that the European Common Market
right.
has managed world commerce. And although there many transitions have been made, but developments are really interesting going forward.
Right.
So
we are in a very, as you said, we are in a very dynamic situation that we can make.
Absolutely.
We can make things happen right here, right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the people, as you said, they need to wake up and get.
Yeah, we need to get on the board.
Yeah, really get serious with what we're doing. You know. Yeah.
That's for sure.
And it's not for us, but for our grandchildren and our great grandchildren.
Well,
that's
I
coming up behind
appreciate you
us.
saying that because, Sue, what is motivating me, apart from my assessment and analysis of how things are going, what is motivating me is my grandchildren.
Yes, right.
I have 5 grandchildren who are smart as a whip. And so, and each of them, they have websites. I build them.
Right.
I'm giving them some things that they can keep with them and learn from.
Right.
And I'm requiring that they read my books.
Yes.
And in fact, I'm working on some novels specifically for them and their generation, because they're not going to put up with this stuff.
Exactly.
You know, and they
Exactly.
need to have another perspective on how things are being presented within the Greco-Roman historical narrative.
Right.
They need to be exposed to other comparative narratives than the cultural imperialism that is a part of much of the systems in Western society. So you need to have a complementary, comparative educational perspective on the procession of human events.
Right.
You know, and so I'm interested in providing that for them, as well as my own for my own edification.
Right.
You know, and whatever.
Yes, sir.
But so I'm looking forward to next time, the next conversation. I'm back, and hopefully by the next conversation I'll be able to connect with Coach Foy prior to our conversation and provide an update for everyone on his acceptance of our humble offer and support of his honorable work.
Let me ask you a quick question, Gary.
Yeah.
Can I, when I put this up on our YouTube channel, can I tag Gary? I'm not Gary. Tag Coach Foy
Sure.
on the post.
Yeah, that'd be great. In fact, I heard that he was on your show
Yes.
some time ago.
Yes.
So I would appreciate you letting him know that you got a dude who works
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes,
with
sir.
you every first and third Thursday, and I'm looking to get in touch with him to meet him. I'd be honored to meet him and share some information with him, particularly about this reward. This award.
Right.
And I'd like to give him a copy of my recent book.
Okay.
I could appreciate what he might say
Definitely.
about it. So sure,
Yeah.
tag your brother.
Yeah, I'll tag him in.
And
Hopefully,
I'm gonna try to call him again. I did leave a message on his cell phone,
Okay.
on his voicemail, but I'm gonna call him again over the weekend. I got some stuff tomorrow to do, and I'm not sure whether or not I'll get to him. But I'm sure I'll get to call him by Saturday or Sunday, and hopefully we'll get a chance to meet. So Yeah, I appreciate being back, my brothers.
All
Glad
right.
to know you got this radio up and running.
Yeah, our radio station is in full effect, streaming live from the VI.com radio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, music nonstop, all kinds of music, reggae, calypso, Latin, R&B, hip-hop, old school, new school, just a little bit of everything for everybody.
You guys keep me inspired, and I know you have the technical capacity for a project that I want to do regarding what they call that
What,
webcast. No.
The podcasting.
Yeah,
Podcasting.
podcasting, right. And so I know you guys got the capacity, so I'm just learning about how to
Okay.
structure them and set it up. So hopefully by the fall we'll be able to get into some podcasting stuff along with whatever you guys continue to do and keep me inspired.
for sure.
But so we look forward to next time. When is that? What is that?
The next time, the third Thursday would be the 21st, but I think
21st,
that
yeah.
week, Soup, is that week that we have that thing that
Oh yes. So,
So-
it might be the 28, guys.
it might be the 28th, Gary. Might be
Okay,
the 28th.
okay.
So we'll let you know.
That's
We'll let you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Whatever you say, man.
All
You're the
right.
boss. You're the
Yeah, we're
producer.
hoping some
I'm
other
just
things.
hanging out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're hoping some other things come through.
Yeah.
And if it does, the 21st would not be a good day.
Right.
But we'll let you know for sure,
Yeah,
Gary.
that's good. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
So,
I'm flexible.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Gary. So, what's happening more real time-ish with the whole political thing with Clinton and gosh, I can't really
Trump?
speak. Trump. Yes.
Yeah. I must tell you, man, I am totally underwhelmed by what's been going on. In fact, I was discussing with some of my colleagues in the States that I was happy that I forfeited my ability to vote in this presidential election by registering
Here.
here.
Right.
You
Right.
see, and so it is really a pathetic situation. But I look at the electoral process as a whole, because as you know, I participated on various levels in both parties as a professional. And I am not impressed with how we, as black people in particular and poor people in general, are doing party politics.
Mm-hmm.
It has gotten too juxtaposed and too hyperbolic. It doesn't have anything to do with substance
None at all.
anymore. And what I find particularly disheartening is the amount of people who are eligible to be registered voters and do not participate in the process at all.
Right.
You see, and so you
You think
have
they're not educated? Just
no, they are turned off, I believe, for the most part,
okay.
with the process.
Okay.
And it hasn't been user friendly.
But you think,
know,
but you
as
think
a
that was
process.
really the at the end of the day? Do you think that was the plan of the higher of the higher forces?
I
to make
agree.
this thing go
I agree
forward
with
like
that assessment. It's easy to come to that generalization because you don't have any education in basic
Civics, right?
in any of the curriculums in the school, in the elementary or secondary or high school level.
Right.
You don't have, at the college level, you have political science, but the nuts and bolts of how the process works is left up to the partisan political parties.
Right.
You see, and they're going to keep stuff
Down.
dumbed down.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, and what is particularly discouraging is the fact that there are very few primary voters, voters who vote in the party primary.
Right.
You know, I'm talking about the states. I'm not talking about what's going on here.
Right.
But there is a serious deficit when you, as a community, don't participate in the party primary, and perhaps less than 10% of African Americans in particular participate in the primary.
Okay.
And people in general, the general population, don't participate in
the
party primaries. So you have, in many cases, less than 25% of the eligible voters participate in the party primaries. And they keep this information away from the general public so they can manipulate the general election, you see. And things are determined to a large extent during the primary election.
Yes.
So when the general election comes, policies and candidates and positions are already pretty much etched in stone.
Yes.
And so they have the general public engage in a horse race, which amounts to nothing substantive. And so in order for there to be any meaningful change, we as poor people and our minority voters in general have to begin to do politics different.
Right.
Because we're playing in the hands of the powers that be, and it becomes a circular exercise, and it goes nowhere. But there are many circular exercises. Politics happens to be one of them that seems to keep us animated and engaged and involved in folly to a large extent. But go ahead.
So in general, you think voter turnout's going to be lower than normal this year?
I think voter turnout will continue to diminish because people are turned off.
Yeah.
You know, and this high school yard personal
brawl and all
brawl and invective.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know,
supposed to be our future leaders.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You see, I'm embarrassed, and I feel that they are condescending to me. I'm too smart for that.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm not with that one.
And another topic we talked about it briefly, very briefly, when we first started the show. This police shooting. You know, at Soup, I saw a real touching video on Facebook today. The young lady was on our show already several months back. Man, she was really just taken back by what was happening with these last two shootings. But Gary, you know, your thoughts on that? I mean, it's just
well, you know, I've been around for a while. You know, I'm damn near 80 years old. But the fact is, during my experience at the community level, which is all my life,
right,
essentially, I have experienced so many deaths at the hands of police officers, whether you talk about in Harlem or any number of cities in the country. And as an organizer during the Black Power and Civil Rights days, I'm familiar with the riots and rebellions that occurred, and most of them occurred as a result of a questionable shooting of a black person by a police officer in most instances.
Right.
You see, and so the problem is structural, and I am not encouraged by the way in which these instances are being dealt with. There are structural problems that need to be addressed at the municipal level, at the level of the various departments,
Police departments.
the police departments, at the various state level, because when you have police officers engaged in these kind of incidents, you can have a typical prosecution scenarios taking place. You need special prosecutors to deal with these incidents because the police departments and prosecutors have a symbiotic relationship
Yes.
in
Yes.
their community. And so therefore, you can't get the kind of independence, you see, and perspective regarding these kind of incidents when you have these police departments and district attorneys pretty much in bed together.
Right.
So there are many structural problems that cause these matters to recur. One problem, which is really intractable, is the problem of race, you see. And race, which is an invention of the age of discovery, that has juxtaposed the minds of men and women into a vertical hierarchical scenario wherein black folk are at the bottom of the pecking order and white folk are superior with other quote-unquote races of relatively different status from white to black, going from high to low. This vertical hierarchical scenario based upon the idea of there being multiple races is an insidious problem. And unfortunately, most of America in particular, most of the systems and structures of America are based upon this hierarchical juxtaposition. And so over centuries in the minds of human beings, black folk are less than human. Black folk are beasts of burden. And in fact, that idea remains enshrined in the U.S. Constitution by way of the 3/5 clause.
And you have a
you
black
see?
president.
And so, but the question becomes, to what extent does a black person or a black president or a black person, let's not put it on the brother, but to what extent does a black person or any person in modern society, to what extent are they free from the cultural imperialism of the Greco-Roman paradigm, you see? And so there are many issues that rest on this paradigm. And unless corrective action is taken, which is questionable to what extent corrective action could be or will be taken. You see, so we have to begin to realize, particularly during these days, that we need full disclosure. We just can't have one perspective, you see. And that is what is unfortunate, because we've been bombarded with this cultural perspective which positions or positions juxtapositions,
Right.
you see. and we find ourselves at odds with scenarios that can no longer be justified with contemporary information. You see, so it looks interesting going forward.
Looks
Anything else,
scary, man. Looks scary if you ask me, man.
Well, I could understand what you're saying, but I don't use the word. I don't use the word scary. There's certain things. There's a glossary of terms
Yes, I, yes, I.
that I deal with. You know, I come from a particular discipline in my monasterial activities. So there's certain words I don't use, and scary is one of them. You know, because and as a matter of fact, I'm not scared of anything.
Yes, I.
Walking, riding, or sliding.
Yes, I. Yes.
All right, Gary.
Okay, my brothers.
Tonight our guest is author Gary James here in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Thanks for coming through one more time. He'll be back soon here in the next week, 2 weeks or so. We just got to figure out some
Whatever
things.
you say, bro.
Yeah, it'll be soon here. It'll definitely be soon. But once again, thank you for coming out and continuing the conversation with us and our viewers worldwide here. So, Soup, any final words, man?
It's as usual, Gary. It's always a pleasure to have you present amongst us, spreading our knowledge, our wealth, wisdom. Give thanks again. Continue doing what you're doing. I wish you much success. Rastafari lives. One perfect love.
Yeah, before we close out, I just want to thank Coach Foy for getting this award here. He doesn't know about it yet, but I guess he will.
Yes.
We stuck it in on him.
Yes,
And he's got a lot to say, a lot of good information too. He's an advocate for a lot of things here, and we'll just leave it at that.
Let me just say he's got fans in the States. In fact, because we were talking about him over there because the organization is associated.
Yes.
There, but Coach Foy, I was with some people who say that they may be cousins of Coach Foy.
Oh,
okay.
They're from Anagata. Their name is Potter.
Okay.
In fact,
Okay.
Joe Potter and his wife Cassandra lived on St. Croix for maybe about 30 or 40 years perhaps.
Okay.
They moved there in the 70s.
Right.
So he's, from what I hear, he very well may be related to some Potters.
Okay.
Out of Anagata. I don't know where he hails from.
Right.
But the world is small.
Very
and
small.
It's full of our
Small by the middle. That's right. That's right.
All right, so real quick here, One Perfect Love is our praise and His blessings. When you put it all together, you get One Perfect Love. I just want to say real quick that this is the It's Your Perspective talk show, streaming live from the VI.com. We got TV and radio. Check out our radio station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just go to the TuneIn app or download our own personal app directly from Google Play or the Apple Store. Just search for streaming live from the VI.com radio. Download it, hit play, and you'll hear nothing but reggae, soca, calypso, hip hop. What else we got on there? Some
R&B,
jazz. Just a little bit of music, a little bit of all kinds of music for everybody. So on that note, man, we're off until next week. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you then.
And be safe. Whatever you do, again, prepare hurricane season. Be vigilant. Always have your documents in a safe place. Always have extra water, batteries. Make sure the elderlies have the medication and the youths have their medications too also taken care of.
Yeah, definitely. And most importantly too is you got to have a emergency evacuation plan already set
in place.
So
that's right. Don't wait till it happens. If you get the family together, y'all tell well, this is when this goes down. This is the road we're taking.
Yeah, this is where we're gonna meet.
Y'all stick to that route, and we meet out under the tree by the coconut and the canna underneath the coconut tree, and that's when everybody count each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have a plan in place before something actually happens.
Yep.
Okay. Prevention is better than cure.
That's how it goes, man.
Yes, I.
So on that note, we're out. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.